Fraction Test 1 review, understanding fractions are constructive response answers. Here we go. Okay, the first constructive response says, Lena will use boards similar to the one shown below to build some shelves. Lena can use one entire board to make 4 shelves. Each shelf has to be the same shape and size. She needs to make 4, draw straight lines on the board above to show where Lena could cut to make the shelves. Okay, I'm going to use something really simple. I know because I've been working with fractions that to find halves, that I'm going to find half of my board first, divide it in half, and then half of my half will make 4 equal sections. I can do that pretty quickly, and I know that each is the same, and it's half makes 2, and half of 2 will make 4. Very good. So now moving on to B. B says, on the board below, draw straight lines to show another way Lena could cut the board to make 4 shelves. Okay, so I've already done half of a half. I can't do that again, so now I'm going to use my ruler. I'm going to start with measuring in inches. And I'm noticing that I don't like how the inches are lining up, so then I'm going to try centimeters. I'm going to see if centimeters will work. Yes, that lines up to 8. So if I know I have to make 4 boards, I'm going to have to take the 8 and divide it into 4 equal sections. Well, 8 divided by 4 is 2. So every 2 centimeters, I'm going to make a mark. So here is 2 centimeters. Another 2, that's 2 plus 2 is 4. 4 plus 2 is 6. And that'll be 8 there. So there you go. Now all I have to do is just draw my marks where they would go. And then that would be another way of having 4 equal spaces. Moving on to C. C says, Lena can also make shelves that are the same shape and size as a piece of board shown below. How many shelves of this shape and size can she make from the original board? Well, my original board is here. This is the same size too, so it doesn't matter which one I used. And then I have this, and I have to be able to fit this piece right here into that board. How many times could I do it? Well, if I go right here, and it's lined up perfectly right here, and I were to line it up right here, I'm going to change this color so I don't get confused. That would be 1. So 1 would go there. I don't want to go into my colors too much or to my other board too much because I don't want to mess up my other pieces. So that means I'm going to use my ruler again. And I'm going to find out. Now I'm having to use 2 rulers because of the board, the way the application that I'm using to video works. So this one is not quite 1. It's like 1.5, a little less than 1.5. So I'm going to pull this up here and I'm going to find out how many times I can do that. So that's 1.5. That's 1. I'm going to make a little red mark here. I'm going to go under it. That's 2. Oh, that's too far. I go about there. That's 2. And see, this is where I'm going to start having problems. Because once I make a mark, it does not let me do that on my ruler. So that's 2. This is going to be 3. Will be right about where that other black line is. 4. If you're looking right here at 1.5, make another mark. That'll be the 4th time I can do it. I'm going to try not to draw on the actual ruler so I can move it. Goodness gracious, it's not letting me move that ruler. Okay, so that's 4 right there. So if I do another 1.5, it's going to be 5. Will go about right here. And then finally, I could be able to do 1 more, which would be 6. And I'm sorry that you're having to look at it the way you're looking at it. The app does not allow me to move the ruler easily. So, now, but when you use your ruler, you'll be able to do it. Now, let's look at D. Lena wants to use a new board of a different size. This board is shown below. What fraction of this is the new board? Well, if I were to draw a line straight from here, and I could use you could actually use the ruler that you have, and I were to draw this line straight up from here, about what would that be? Well, I'm noticing here where I actually did my measurements, it's in between the half and the half and the 3/4 board, or the lines that I drew. So I know that it's going to be somewhere in there. Now, I'm looking at the board lines that I just drew, and lining up to about the board lines that I just drew. So I'm thinking that if I were to be able to put this into 6 different pieces, how many of those pieces would fit, right? So at this point in time, it would have been 1, 2, 3, 4 would have fit in there. So my answer would have been 4 out of 6. So 4 out of the 6 pieces would have worked, and that is the correct answer. All right, let's move on to the last question. Haroon painted a wall in his room. This shaded area below is the amount of the wall Haroon painted in half an hour. This is very much like the first test I sent home with you as a check, just to see how well you were doing after the first week of fractions, and you were able to use that to prepare for this test. So it was almost exactly like that question. So hopefully you use that test as a review. There was also another question on your study guide that would have helped you with this. So hopefully you were already okay on this before we get started. Most people did a pretty good job on this section. A few of you do still need some help, so I'm going to help you with this one as well. Now, A says, how many minutes did it take for Haroon to paint the shaded area? Well, it told me half of an hour. Well, if I know an hour is 60 minutes, what is half of 60? Half of 60 equals 30. So this is a 30-minute time period. So this would be 30 minutes. Now, B. The shaded area shows how much of the room has painted so far. What fraction of the room has he not painted? So I'm looking for a fraction. So if he's painted this, how much is he not? So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to make my line here. I'm going to go ahead and measure to see where I need to make my other line. So that's 2. So I need to make another mark right about there. And then here I can just draw that going straight across. That's going to be my halfway mark. So according to this, and it's not going to let me move my ruler again. So according to this, I have 6 equal sections. This question is asking me how many he has not painted. Well, he's painted 1 of the 6. So how many has he not painted? 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 5 out of 6 of the rooms has not been painted. Moving on to C. How long will it take for Haroon to paint the entire wall? Well, if this section takes half an hour or 30 minutes, right? This would take another half an hour or 30 minutes. So each of these sections are going to take the exact same time, which is 30 minutes. Well, I know that 2 30s makes an hour. So that's 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours. So this will take him 3 hours. Moving to D. How many hours will it take him to paint half of the wall? Well, if I divide this wall into half, which would be right here, like this, it will take him 3 30-minute time periods. It didn't ask me minutes, it asked me how many hours. So I know that these two would make 1 hour. So it's 1 hour and then 30 minutes. So 1 hour and then 30 is half of another hour, so 1.5 hours. And that is the answer to this question. Like I said, I think most of you did a pretty good job on this because we had so much practice with this type of question. And it's a lot of common sense. It's just taking your time and thinking through what you're doing.